What if you had a digital pickleball coaching assistant every time you stepped out onto the court? And that assistant would track each type of shot you hit, your success rate for each shot, your speed on each shot, and not only that, it spits out video clips that cut out all the dead time between points and skips straight to the action only so that you only see what you're most interested in. And what's more is that you can filter further, isolating down to only viewing certain shots. For example, let's say you know you struggle more on your backhand side. You can tell the filter that you only want to see your backhands. Well, it will cut straight to your backhands only and build a video of just that so that you can look closely at what's going on. As a player striving to get an edge and get better, that's a highly valuable tool. Not only that, it can call lines for you, so say goodbye to disputes over line calls forever. And those are just some highlights. It can do so much more than that. It's jam-packed with awesome features that can make this already great game even more fun. It does that by pushing the boundaries of AI technology through innovation. Sound too good to be true? Well, I have good news. It's arrived in pickleball and it's already been battle tested in tennis. So it has hit the ground running in pickleball. I've started testing it out and it's already very cool and it's only getting better and better. It's an app you can download on your phone and it's called SwingVision. There is so much to unpack about this app, and today we're very lucky to have the CEO and co-founder of SwingVision, Swapnil Sahai, join us and tell us about his awesome app. Hey, Nicole Havlicek here with Primetime Pickleball. I'm very excited to have Swapnil here with us today. Swapnil is the CEO and co-founder of SwingVision. SwingVision is an app, and I wanted to kick off with a short story about SwingVision and how I came to learn about it, or learn that it was coming to pickleball, because I am fortunate to have a large YouTube following, and I do get emails about products, quite a few, and it's rare, but it does happen that I am seeking out products that I know of and know. So I did that last summer. I was aware of SwingVision in tennis, and I looked it up, and I was like, I wonder if they have branched out into pickleball yet. I'm not even sure they're thinking about that, but I hope that they are. I checked on the website, didn't seem to be happening at the time. So I was like, okay, I kind of let it go. And then in January or so, an email landed in my inbox from a team member of Swapnil's. Hey, SwingVision expanded into pickleball. We'd love to chat. And I was like, yes, let's chat. So I'm so happy to have Swapnil on here today to tell us about his great app, SwingVision, because I'm super excited about it. And I think all pickleball players should be. So welcome, Swapnil. Thanks for being here today. And with that, can you please tell us a little bit about your app and why it's going to be beneficial for pickleball players?
Yeah, for sure. Well, firstly, yeah, thanks for having me, Nicole. Yeah, we're huge fans of you, and the following you've built is just so incredible and impressive. So it's an honor to be on your show. Yeah, I mean, we started out building this app for tennis initially. So I guess a little bit more context on myself too. So I'm like a lifelong tennis player, all kinds of racket sports, but tennis has been kind of my main one. And just wanted a way to get some stats on my game, like the same kind of stats you see on like ESPN, in terms of like where's the ball landing and how fast are you hitting the ball and all that. And so there wasn't really an easy way to get that, even in tennis. The next closest solution involved installing like 10 cameras on the court to like triangulate the position of the ball. And I'm sure you used some of these back in your day when you were playing tennis, more actively. And they're really expensive. They're like $10,000 a court. So it's just not something that the average amateur player can use. And so we had this crazy idea, which was like, hey, let's just put it onto a phone. Like, let's just make it so you stick your phone up behind you on the court and it will just process and analyze everything. It will generate all the stats of your game, just like you see on TV. And it'll even clip highlights of your match and all that. And so that's what we ended up building, which is SwingVision. And you can download it on iOS. We are planning to come to Android at some point, probably next year. And it's really just as simple as what I described. You just kind of stick your phone. We have this swing stick device, which is basically like a selfie stick. It just, pretty small. It's like the size, smaller than a tennis racket actually. And then it just has these little things to like extend it. And then you just like hook this on behind you on the court. and it gives you a nice angle to record your game. And then as soon as you're done recording, the coolest part is like as soon as you're done recording, you have all the stats instantly. You have highlights. All the dead time between the points is removed for you. And it's all just done by running our AI algorithms on the phone directly. So you don't have to wait for the video to like upload somewhere else and like process in the cloud and all that. And so, we've been on the market for about 4.5 years. And yeah, around this time last year, we were starting to think about potentially going to another sport. And obviously, it seems like everybody I know is playing pickleball. And, we're pretty focused on the American market still, even though the app is available globally. And it just made a lot of sense. It's, kind of very similar sport. It's growing very quickly. There's a lot of people playing it. And it just seemed like it was the natural next step for us. And so this is the second sport that we've added now to the app, and it's all in the same app. There's no new app for pickleball specifically, actually. So if you've ever used apps like Strava to track your running and cycling, it's very similar. So you can like select which sport you're going to record. There are a lot of people who play both sports, so it kind of gives you that flexibility. And it works the exact same way. And I guess the last thing I should mention, in addition to giving you stats, is that if you have an Apple Watch, you can check line calls right there on the court, which is super fun. And that's also available for pickleball as well. So it's pretty fun to use that.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great rundown of the features, and we'll definitely dive deeper into those. Before we get to that, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to be the guy that can bring AI to pickleball in an app that's going to help people play better, improve, and like you said, yeah, back in the day when I was coming up, which was in tennis, like we used pencil and paper, and we didn't do much recording. And if the rare parent that was doing that, we were like, wow, they're really invested, because
Yeah.
that's the route you were going. When I got to college, that changed. We definitely had more cameras out and about, but it was not at all like SwingVision. And I'll talk a little bit more about my experience with SwingVision so far. But yeah, why don't you let us know how you came to be that guy that could do this, and why it's working out well for you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it wasn't really like something I ever thought I was going to do growing up. Like I mentioned, tennis was my main sport and I was very passionate about it. But my main focus was always academics. Like I went to Berkeley for my undergrad. I studied stats there. And then I actually was trying to become a professor. So then I went to Columbia to get my PhD in statistics. And was doing research out there. Kind of realized I didn't really like doing research. Like publishing papers wasn't really my thing. But I kind of finished the PhD, and then while I was there, I actually interned at Tesla in their autonomous driving team, and so that's where I got like really excited about the future of AI, especially with like cameras and like what you can do with cameras now. And so I joined Tesla full time after my PhD down in Palo Alto in California, and worked there for a few years. I got really experienced in using the cameras to track the cars and the pedestrians around you and make sure you don't hit them, and understand how far away they are and how fast they're moving. And as I just got more experience in that, I started to kind of put the pieces together that like, oh, maybe we could use some of this, technology and innovation to actually bring this sort of professional level stats tracking to, racket sports, and do that with your phone. And so the timing was really good. Like, especially the iPhones started making their own chips. They call this the neural engine. That's like their marketing name for it. But it's actually a very sophisticated technology that they've built, and they've built these chips that are like specifically for AI algorithms. And especially these AI algorithms that are like processing images, they run really fast on these chips and very efficiently. So now you can actually record like a 2-hour tennis match and run this really complicated AI, and it's doing all this fancy stuff, but it's not going to kill your battery life. So all of this kind of happened around the same time when we started the company in 2019. So the timing was just perfect. I kind of had the right experience for solving this problem. The technology in the market, the hardware was finally there as well to support what we were trying to build. And so everything sort of kind of happened all together. Um, and then, yeah, we just kind of started building it and took a shot at it. We ended up pitching an initial concept to some former professional tennis players, Andy Roddick being probably the biggest name, which was very fortunate. We got to him, and then James Blake as well. So they were both really sold on the vision that we were trying to build, basically this professional experience and bring it to the amateurs. And so they were our first investors. And then we just never like looked back from there, and then just started building the product, got it out as fast as we could. Initial version wasn't very accurate. You could put your phone up and record, but like the stats weren't really the most trustworthy. But it was good enough for a small set of customers, and then we just sort of iterated from there and kept improving the accuracy of the AI and introducing line calling, introducing auto scoring, and all these new features that we've added over the several years. And then finally now we're in pickleball.
Amazing. Okay, so Tesla FSD, yeah, I think I knew that, and now I could see that makes a really clear path to. That's a really complicated problem. So if you were heavily involved in that, I could see how that's going to definitely help you dramatically with solving this challenge in racket sports, I guess you could say, because you're Start with the Tennis headed to pickleball, and we're so excited to have you. And yeah, diving back more into the features, I have to say I've been using it, and I definitely want to use it more and upload video. But I know most people are going to use it from the phone, so I've been trying to focus on that.
Yeah.
And one feature I knew about, which you mentioned, that it cuts out all the dead time, that as an editor and as a coach
Yeah,
and a content creator
totally.
who like, I spend so much time editing out dead time and like looking for actual footage, and it just does that, which I love. And then so that's a huge one for me. I imagine it's really helpful for people. And then the other thing is being able to filter by shot. Wow. Like I knew that existed, but then when I typed
Yeah.
it in, I'm like, show me backhands that I missed, or I can't remember now what it was. And it did. And it was pretty accurate. There was maybe like only a couple of forehands in there by accident because of the way I stepped or something. But I was just like, oh my God, this is gonna make my life so much easier. So for someone like me, but I can only imagine someone, who doesn't know how to edit, who is invested but doesn't want to spend really any extra time doing that stuff. It's just going to take care of it. You don't have to do anything. It's just like you hit a button, there it is. You type in, I want to see forehands, I want to see forehand volley, I want to see returns, or whatever it is, and it's right there. So I imagine, and is that like one of the most popular features that, well, I mentioned two there, but or what are the most popular features if that's not one of them?
Yeah, I think that's definitely the number one, is like the fact that you can record, your entire match, and it just cuts it down to like a few minutes, and you can just jump to every rally, and it removes all the time when you're picking up the balls or getting a water break or anything like that. So that's definitely been the most popular, both amongst players and editors like yourself. I think everybody just kind of universally loves that one. I mean, it's like really hard to beat like saving people time, right? Like that's like the single best product you can build. But I think, yeah, aside from that, the line challenges have been really popular too.
Okay.
So a lot of close calls always happen, and potential arguments on the court, or you just want to check, you're just curious. And it's just so fun to be able to like pull up your Apple Watch and be like, okay, challenge. And then it'll just show you like a little video replay. And then SwingVision will even tell you like whether it's in or out. So I think both of those have been very cool. And it's just, the challenge one especially just feels very sci-fi, and it's like, wow, like I can actually challenge a call. Like this is so cool, to have that like real AI on your wrist basically. So I think that's been fun. And then we just released the ability to keep score on your watch. And so now you can actually update scores, and it's really helpful because especially in doubles, it'll tell you like, is it the first serve or the second serve, and also like which side are you supposed to serve from. Sometimes you lose track of that because you both come up to the net and you just like forgot who just served, like which side are we serving from, like. So it shows you all that on the watch, and it helps you like kind of make sure you're playing from the right side, and everything. So that's there now. And then what's really cool about that too is, as soon as you're done recording and you end the session, all that scoring information gets synced over to your phone. And when you watch your video, now you're going to see a scoreboard on the video. And some new filters will be available now too. So you could look at like specific points, like show me all the points on my serve, or show me all the points on my opponent's serve. And so, the filters get even more impressive. But it's like hopefully even adding more benefit to editors too, where like instead of having to put your own scoreboard on there, we're just going to put a scoreboard in there for you because you were keeping score. And so, it just makes it look more professional and just add some more context to that video. So I think people are really going to enjoy that new feature that just came out.
Yeah, definitely. That's fantastic. So is that because I noticed I could only record in Rally for now. So Match is that's Match and it's available.
Exactly. Yeah, that's
Oh,
match mode.
fantastic.
So
Okay, so I
yeah, like
haven't
you really just
so I'm
got
gonna
approved
fire it up
yesterday.
next time and Match Match is gonna be there.
Yep.
Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, so you mentioned you can use the Apple Watch. I don't have an Apple Watch, but I'm thinking about getting it for this reason.
Yeah.
Can you explain like the benefits of the Apple Watch and how it differs from not having one?
Yeah. So, well, I guess there's when you're setting up the camera, depending on your court and what kind of fence you have, or if you're playing indoors, yeah, sometimes it can be hard to see like what the phone is actually seeing. And so that's like the first benefit is that with the watch you get a little camera preview and you can see the camera, you can make sure everything looks good. So that setup just gets a little bit easier. Then you can actually like start and stop recordings from your watch. You can even do back-to-back recordings, which is very helpful for pickleball. Like let's say you're doing some pickup games, right? And so like you finish the first game, you end the recording, you could start a new one for the next one because maybe the players changed or whatever it is, right? So that's really helpful to be able to do from your watch without having to go back to the phone. And then aside from keeping score and challenging line calls, I would say the third big benefit during play itself is that you can bookmark rallies. So let's say you played a really great point and you want to like bookmark that, just hit a button and it bookmarks it. Um, so I think people really love using that. I personally love that. It's just so much better. Again, editing perspective, right? You don't have to go watch through all the points. You can just bookmark them in real time, and then there's a separate highlight reel just for those ones. It's called the favorited points.
Mhm.
And so that just makes it really easy too. So I think those are the main benefits. One thing that I should also mention is technically you can do some of that now with another phone. So we have this new feature where you can pair another phone as like a remote control. And so anybody else's phone, even if it's an Android phone, you just like scan a QR code from your phone, and then you'll be able to like remotely tap into it. You can challenge line calls. You can set up the camera and all that. You just can't do the scorekeeping yet, and the favoriting stuff. So we haven't
Mhm.
built that quite yet. But you can do the other things like setting up the camera and challenging line calls. So technically don't even need a watch to do some of those things. But yeah, the watch gets you like the scorekeeping and the bookmarking feature.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's very helpful. Because yeah, like I said, I didn't have the watch and I could see how it would help me position better.
Yeah.
And what you also, if I do a lot of drilling, so if you're doing like 4 drills, you
Hmm.
can do dinking drills, stop the recording, start a new one, do
Yep.
baseline drills. It'll just
Correct.
make everything a little cleaner with no extra effort. So that's helpful because you'll get specific heat maps for that session,
Yeah.
right?
True.
Instead of mixing all the session. Okay, very
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, so that's awesome. The um, the other thing I noticed is and I think we talked once before. You're headed to the place where you are going to be adding a shot differentiation, and when I say that, that's my own term. It just makes sense to me. When I say that, I mean like it can because right now I can't identify dinking versus dropping, but
Right.
you're headed there. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct, and that's that's kind of a limitation we've had on the tennis side too. Like we don't distinguish like a backhand drop shot from like a backhand lob, let's say in tennis.
Hmm.
So those are we kind of call them shot types, I guess, internally. But yeah, we are planning
Yeah.
to add that for pickleball as well. So like you'll have dinks, you'll have drives, you'll have drops. So you'll be able to see kind of the difference in those. Have filters for those. Have different heat maps for those things and all that. So that's definitely the plan there. And then you'll even have like dedicated stats for those, so you can understand like where are you making the most mistakes, what are the patterns of shots that are leading to the rally being lost. All of that is going to be very important. So yeah, all that's planned for kind of probably the second half of this year, I'd say. But that's probably been the number one request I think from the
Okay.
pickleball community. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. Yeah. That's going to be amazing. I mean, it already just the fact that you can filter by backhands, forehands, and volleys, and I haven't even. There's more than that. I haven't even messed with all. That's super helpful, but that extra layer will definitely be, I'm sure, appreciated. So that's awesome that it's on the roadmap. So what else is on the roadmap for like the rest of this year, let's say, and then next year?
Yeah, the other big thing which we have in tennis now is auto scoring. So instead of having to keep score every point, you could just record the match and then put like the game score, like okay, it was 11-5, and then it will kind of backfill all of the results of every point for you. So it'll add that scoreboard for you. And so that'll be really helpful where if you're somebody maybe who doesn't want to necessarily keep score every single point, you wouldn't necessarily have to do that. You just put the game score at the very end of the recording. And so it makes that process like a little bit easier. So that's something like that we have for tennis, and it just adds a little bit more convenience there. And then aside from that, there's just more stats around like points being won that would be helpful to see. You know, how many points are you winning like when you're serving versus when your partner is serving, or maybe there's a difference when you're serving from the right side, from the left side, you know, so you'll be able to see like kind of the difference there and just get a better detailed breakdown of like, where are you winning more points? Where are you losing more points? Um, and then last thing I'll probably mention is just more like strategy feedback. So like, where should you actually be placing the ball? You know, like on your third shot, what should you be doing with that third shot? Where should you be hitting it? How hard should you be hitting it? So like then giving you some more strategic feedback. And then same thing for like when you're returning somebody's serve, you know. So I think like there's different strategies we can give you there in terms of where to place the ball and like, you know, whether it should be a drive or a drop or and all that. So that's also going to be coming there too. That's part of our like AI coaching suite of features, I should say.
Okay, and is that also end of this year, or is that next year more focused, or what's
I
what's the
think
focus
I
this
think
year
there's a good
versus
chance
next
we'll
year?
have so pretty confident we'll have auto scoring like by the end of the summer, and then the AI coaching should come by the end of the year. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And how what's your so you launched the pickleball in November, is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. Basically, end of November. Yeah.
Okay, so it's been about 6 months. So tell us a little bit about the journey of those 6 months from then until now, how the adoption rate, things like that, what feedback you've gotten over time, where you are versus where you want to be. If you could just shed
Yeah.
some light on that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think, yeah, you know, the biggest feedback we got initially was like it still felt like a very like tennis specific app. So we've made lots of updates to like the onboarding flow to kind of convey sort of both sports equally and just make it feel like more pickleball specific. We've also just done a better job of like updating like our website and our app store screenshots as well to kind of show both sports as well. And so I think like now that feedback hasn't been coming as much, which is good to see. And I think we're able to provide a bit more of like a personalized experience depending on which sport you play. And then I think like, yeah, the biggest room for improvement is still just like the terminology that we're showing and being able to show some of those like specific shot types, like you mentioned. I think that's like the biggest gap we still have. And then on the part where we're doing quite well, I think is like the accuracy of like the shot tracking and the line calling, like that's improved very quickly.
Hmm.
Um, like the accuracy level that we're seeing already now with the line calling, it took us like almost 2 years when we launched the tennis product to get to that level of accuracy, and we're already there in like less than 6 months. So I
Wow.
think that's really good for us, and um, I guess it makes it hard for competitors. But yeah, it's an advantage that we have because of all the learnings that we have from the tennis data, and so we've been able to move very quickly there. And I think, I mean, we just launched our first partnership with the USTA for line calling at junior tournaments this past weekend. And so I think we'll get there for pickleball events pretty soon too, where like SwingVision will actually be officiating, pickleball matches and tournaments. So probably not this year, but I think it will happen early next year because like we're moving very quickly on the line calling side now. So I think that's pretty exciting to see that. And then yeah, adoption wise, I mean, you know, we've been in the tennis market for about 4.5 years, so it's a pretty well established customer base for us. But
Hmm.
as of now, yeah, pickleball is like almost 10%, I'd say, of the subscriber base, and it is growing faster. Like you know, every month, like it's accelerating, I would say, in terms of the new pickleball subscribers that are joining. So you know, we'll see where things go. I would like that like by the end of the year it's like close to 50-50. I don't think it's going to quite get there, but it, you know, hopefully it'll get there. Eventually it might be more than maybe more than 50-50. So we'll see, you know, how avid the pickleball community is. But I think as we get to like feature parity and offering the same set of features for both, then it's kind of like, you know, it's an open playing field, and whichever customer base is more enthusiastic, I guess, will kind of drive more of the adoption.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, pickleball is still growing quite rapidly, and I can
Yeah.
only imagine that Swing Vision's going to grow rapidly alongside that. I mean, it's such an exciting tool for fun, for people who just are in it for the rec and also who want to improve, but it's not their like main focus. So it's a lot of fun there with the line, the line calling. Um, so it helps you have a better, more enjoyable, more accurate game, and take
Totally.
some of the like the tough, because one of the main complaints about new players coming in is like the scoring and the switching and remembering, right? It's exactly what you said.
Yeah.
So if that problem can get solved with an app such as yours, which it is, then that's exciting. And then for the people that want to take it to that next level, such as myself and my students, and how I break things down for people on video, there's so much for me as well. So it's like
Yeah.
really just you kind of capturing all the levels. And like you said, on the reffing side, there's a lot of lately, especially, there's a lot of controversy around even line calling at the pro levels.
Yeah.
So it's been there all along, but it's caught attention lately in the last couple of months. There's been some some really I don't know, I forget what the word is, but issues with between certain specific players
Yeah.
that could help resolve all that, because it's just the calling lines is just tough. I mean, even the most fair person, it's
Yeah.
just we're not equipped. Our vision's not equipped to handle it. So
Totally.
that's really exciting. Okay, let me see what else we've got here. Is okay. So you said Android. It's not currently available on Android, but that is in the works. And is that right?
Yeah, it's in the works. I mean, it's mainly because the like a performance issue actually. Like the hardware on the iPhone is just very far ahead in terms
Mm-hmm.
of the hardware I was talking about, the neural engine chips that they have. Apple has started making their own versions, which are actually like several years ahead of the rest of the industry. So um, we're just not quite ready to go to Android yet. But we've been working really closely with some engineers at Google. Like they help us test out every new device that comes out, like the S24 that just came out. We just like tried that out, and so all these new devices are showing lots of promise. The latest ones, Pixel 8 as well. So I'm hopeful we'll kind of get to it. I think it'll probably launch next year though, realistically, but we're really close now, finally. Um, but yeah, for now it's iPhone. It's like any iPhone going back to like iPhone 11 can use SwingVision, and then any Apple Watch going back to like the Series 5 can do the line calling and all those features today. Yeah.
Cool. So okay, so you have been eager to get on both. It's just that in Android, it's a limitation on the hardware side. It's not that you're not
Yeah.
pursuing; you're actively pursuing it, but you just keep kind of running into hurdles for now. I mean, that are getting
Exactly.
solved.
Yeah, we've been trying, and we definitely recognize it's a big market. I mean, especially internationally. I guess maybe matters less for pickleball because the US is mostly iOS, but still, like there's lots of customers that have Android, obviously. So a lot of players that have Android. So I think it's something that we have to do,
Hmm.
and we're not too far away, but yeah, hopefully soon.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I feel like we've covered a lot. Is there anything that that's coming to mind that maybe I haven't asked or we haven't talked about that you think we've missed that could be helpful to people?
I guess another thing I would mention, and people have asked for this, but we don't do it yet, which is like the kitchen faults.
Okay.
So I think that's something that we're planning to do as well, probably next year at this point. But I think, if we do want to build officiating for tournaments and things like that, then that's probably like an important component, especially if we weren't trying to go into the pro level. That's going to be important. But yeah, that's something that we're planning to solve eventually too. We're already like collecting data for that specifically. We actually have the way we build SwingVision is we collect lots of footage, and then we have a team of data labelers that will like watch the videos, and then they'll
Mm.
annotate things like, oh, this was a forehand, this was a backhand, like this was a dink, and so on. And so we're actually having them specifically annotate like when kitchen faults happen. So we're
Okay.
gonna hopefully like have the AI be able to detect that at some point. I think that's coming soon. And then I guess the other thing I'll mention too, which might be more relevant to, I mean, it'll be relevant to players and coaches, but we are building a remote coaching platform. We've seen this be really popular on the tennis side, where people record their matches with SwingVision, and then they'll send the links to their coach, and then the coach will watch their match remotely, and right now maybe they'll leave some notes in like Google Docs or something like that, and then they'll like share that back to the players. But we're trying to just bring that all within the platform, within SwingVision directly. And so you could take notes directly on the video, you could make drawings, you could add comments, things like that. And it's just going to be a really like easy, efficient way, and it's going to save coaches a lot of time in terms of providing feedback to players. So I think that's gonna be really exciting, and it's gonna be sort of like a marketplace, so you can get like any coach anywhere to review your video, and hopefully it'll allow coaches to improve their business and reach more players as well, on like rainy days and things like that. So just kind of from home on the couch, they'll be able to just coach a bunch of students, which I think is gonna be pretty cool paradigm shift. But yeah, hopefully it'll just be better for everybody. So we're really excited about that. That's also coming later this year. So look out for that, especially those of you trying to improve your game. Just give you even better access to better coaches.
Yeah, that man, you're just really kind of solving all all the problems with the one app. I love it. The other thing that actually, when you were speaking, something popped into mind. We do have this ongoing challenge in pickleball, which also exists in tennis, but less so in terms of uh, rating players and figuring out how to get a good quality rec game, because different
Mm,
players from different states, a 4-0 in California is not like the same as a 4-0 in the
mm.
Midwest, let's say, and that's been true for tennis as well.
Yeah,
So we're running into that same challenge in pickleball, and maybe even more so, just because it's a little less. The rating systems are less developed
totally.
than on the
Yeah.
tennis side. So, do you envision any kind of solution in your app for that?
Definitely. Yeah. So I think like the short term solution will be to kind of use the existing rating systems and like your self rating that you put in the app, because we do support some of those popular rating systems already, and you can select that in the app. You've probably seen that. So the first step will be to kind of just connect you with other pro subscribers in your area. And you'll be able to kind of message them easily, find them, even find people who are hitting at like your particular park or facility that you always play at. So you'll be able to kind of very easily get connected with other SwingVision customers who are like avidly on the platform. But then the long-term vision for that is to build not necessarily our own rating system. I don't know if we would necessarily do that, but I think like just be able to match you in a more objective way.
Hmm.
Because as you said, people self-rate, but sometimes they might be inflating. Sometimes they're like sandbaggers and they're like putting the other way, other direction.
Yeah.
So you have all kinds of issues. But I think we have all this objective data. We like know how hard you're hitting. We know like how consistent your serve is and like how consistent your return and all this stuff, right? So like we have all the best stats imaginable on the shot level. Like so
Hmm.
it's the most detailed data of like any company can possibly provide. So I think like we should be able to match players better than anybody. So I think that is a long-term vision. Um, we do need a lot more players on the platform, I think, to make that accurate. So, it's going to be a couple of years before we get to that. And also, we're just like really focused on line calling right now and all these other
Hmm.
things. But I think as the company grows, as the product evolves, as we have more customers, that's a very natural extension of what we're going to be able to do. And I think it'll be very straightforward to do once we have the data. So it's really just like a data problem, honestly. But really excited for that, because I think it's going to just completely change the way that you find people to play with. You can find your ideal partner that way, in doubles, whatever it is. Like, I think games will be a lot more competitive once we have this. So yeah, just really excited for that. Definitely more of like a long term thing, but I don't think it's like necessarily that far away. It's
Hmm.
just like a couple of years away, probably.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that sounds really interesting. Yeah, I mean, that just hit me what you said. It's like, yeah, you guys are gonna have the most data. You already
Yeah,
do, and it's just
yeah,
gonna keep your library keeps building, and then I don't know. Imagine you feed it into some kind of model. I don't know anything about that. You're the Tesla guy, so so that's incredible. Yeah, I mean, really, yeah, the data is the answer to everything, and then it's just about getting enough of it and knowing how to understand it and then present it back in a way that's useful, right?
yeah.
So
Yeah, and it's been
that,
cool to see just like people. I mean, customers have been doing very unique things. Like, speaking of like rating systems, we've been seeing some people, what they'll do is, so in the app there's this like public feed where you can see like just people posting videos around the world. Like if you make your privacy public, then your matches will show up in the public feed.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And so some people have been using this to look at people at the next level. Like they're like, okay, I'm a 4.0. I'm trying to get to a 4 or 5. Like, let me try to find some 4 or 5 players in the public feed and just like watch their matches and like see how they play and like what do they do differently. So it's been really fascinating to see how like the data that we're using, they're able to see like the speed of their shots and the speed of their serves and, all these different metrics. And it's just so cool to see that like people are kind of finding unique ways to like use the data to their advantage. But it's all very like open too, and it's
Yeah.
like transparent, so it's cool. So I think there's like a lot more we'll try to do there too. In addition to helping you find the right person, we could also help you like improve your game and figure out where are the gaps from the level you're at right now to the next level up, and what do you need to focus on. So kind of like making improvement like even faster, I think, which is especially helpful when you're like starting out. But I think anybody who's serious like is always trying to improve some part of the game. So hopefully we'll be able to do more there to provide feedback.
That's awesome. No, that's so interesting. So it's kind of like you're driving it, the vision and the app, but then it is taking on a life of its own on
Yeah, yeah,
when the customers figure out certain ways to
yeah,
use it. Because I could see how, okay, so and so is better than me. Why? And you look at his heat map and why, and
yeah,
it's different. Okay,
yeah,
what's different about it? So and that's just one aspect. The
yeah.
heat map. And there's so many other data points to look at, which is really cool. Wow. It's just open. I'm already excited about it with just the features that are there now. I can't even imagine how much more excited I'm going to be as everything starts to get rolled out. I have to check out the match one that's apparently already there that
Yeah,
I missed just because it's got uploaded yesterday or whatever.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. You gotta try that out. Yeah, you'll enjoy it.
Awesome, awesome. No, this has been great. I think we've hit all my questions. Unless you have something else to add. I know you're a busy man getting all these features out to us. So thanks so much for being here, Swapnil. This has been great. Maybe we can do an update in another 6 months, and then you'll be 1 year in to the pickleball. So that could be a good milestone to see how things have evolved. So really appreciate having you on. I'm a big fan, and I'm eagerly watching you execute and your team execute. I've spoken to a few of your team members, and they're great. I've given them feedback. They love it. They just seem to be so hands on board, wanting to move your vision forward.
No, yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for having me, Nicole. And yeah, it's amazing to see everything you're doing as well. So keep building that subscriber base and helping players get better. And we're definitely rooting for you as well. And yeah, that sounds really good. We should definitely check in on the first anniversary of SwingVision for pickleball. So
Awesome.
that'll be
Okay,
fun.
and one last thing, yeah, I'm going to put the links to SwingVision in the description and all that awesome information. Quickly before we go, tell us how people can sign up and what the packages are that they can get involved in.
Yeah, so the best way to get started is to get the bundle. So we have this bundle that gives you access to our subscription, which is the pro subscription. So that gets you like 30 hours of recording a month, and you get access to the line calling and basically all the bells and whistles of the app, is kind of what you get with that. Whereas if you download the app for free, you can record like a couple hours a month, but you don't really get like cloud storage of your videos and all that. So it's kind of a good way to get familiar, but the bundle is the best. And then the bundle also includes the stick that I was showing earlier, so the swing stick. And so you can get that all together. And then I think you're going to put your referral code in the show notes. But basically, your referral code will get people the swing stick for free. So basically, you get that 1 year subscription, and then you get the swing stick for free included with that. So it's a
Fantastic.
great
Yep.
deal. Basically, save like $100 on the stick itself, and that's the best way to get going. And it has a 45-day money back guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, you can return it back. We'll refund everything, but we're confident you're going to like it, and hope you do, and tell your friends about it. But yeah, that's the best way to get going.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely put that in the description. Thanks again, Swapnil, and keep executing. We love to see it, and we'll hopefully we'll have you back soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.